So the lights go out across Spain and Portugal, but then parked electric cars end up helping people. Have you ever thought your car could keep your house running during a blackout?
Yeah, today is May 13th, 2025. We're looking back at the big blackout on April 28th. The grid failed. Millions in Spain and Portugal lost power. But interestingly, for a lot of folks, it was their electric cars that kept things going. How did that work?
Right, the blackout hit at 12:33 CEST. Within minutes, almost all of mainland Portugal and most of Spain went dark. Even places in Andorra and parts of France were affected. Transport, communications, essential services, everything just stopped. Hospitals switched over to generators, and sadly, there were fatalities, 7 in Spain, 1 in Portugal. More than 25 people were injured, some by candle fires, others from generator fumes.
That's a serious impact. But while most people sat in darkness, some EV owners actually kept their homes running. Let's talk about how. So we're talking about vehicle-to-home, V2H, and vehicle-to-grid, V2G, right? Can you explain V2H first?
Sure, V2H means you use your car's battery to power your house. With a bidirectional charger, electricity can flow from the car back into the home. So, if your EV is parked, it can act as a backup battery, keep the fridge on, charge your phone, run a few lights, sometimes for days.
So during the blackout, this was like a live test for V2H. If you had the right setup, you could keep the essentials going while your neighbors were, stuck in the dark. What about V2G? That's a bit different, right?
Yeah, V2G is the next step. Instead of just powering your home, your EV can send energy back into the grid. It turns cars into, well, mobile storage for the whole system.
Wait, so if V2G was more common, could it actually have helped stop the blackout? Or at least made it less severe?
Possibly. If more EVs had been set up for V2G, the grid would have had extra backup to handle sudden spikes or drops in demand. During normal times, V2G helps balance load, and in a crisis, it might help prevent cascading failures. But, it depends on scale.
All right, let's touch on the technical part. Why did this blackout happen, especially since renewables were providing so much power?
So at the time, the grid was running 32 gigawatts of supply for 25 gigawatts of demand. Solar was making up almost 60%. But the trigger? Still unclear. The European Transmission Network set up an expert panel. Acer is investigating too. High renewable output can sometimes make grids more sensitive to issues, but the details aren't out yet.
So that brings us to resilience. If EVs can help both homes and maybe the grid in a blackout, what's stopping everyone from using V2G and V2H? Are there any real incentives?
Depends on where you live. Some places pay you a premium for feeding power back to the grid during peak times. Those are feed-in tariffs. Others give tax credits for buying bidirectional chargers or cheaper electricity rates for taking part in V2G. There are also capacity payments. Basically, grid operators pay you for making your battery available.
But what about battery lifespan? People worry that using their EV as a backup might wear it out faster.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Battery degradation is something people think about. But actually, slower controlled discharges like in V2G usually have little effect. Some studies even hint that using batteries for grid storage could help their lifespan. And now, some warranties are starting to cover V2G and V2H use, which could make people feel better about it.
So are there big technical or regulatory hurdles? Why isn't everyone using their EV as a backup generator already?
Technically, a lot of EVs still need a separate inverter to give AC power to homes. Plus, many countries' electrical codes and utility standards haven't caught up with bidirectional charging. Infrastructure varies, ahead in places like Europe, the US, and Japan, but not everywhere. And charger standards aren't unified. Until these are sorted, adoption's going to be patchy.
So EVs aren't just cars anymore. They're becoming mobile power plants. The Iberian blackout really showed how, in a crisis, This tech could mean the difference between darkness and, well, having a working fridge.
Exactly. With more blackouts and extreme weather, using cars as part of the grid is starting to look like simple common sense, not science fiction.
All right, that's our look at how EVs helped power Iberian homes during one of the biggest blackouts in recent memory. Is this what energy resilience looks like from now on?
Thanks for joining us. Next time you see an electric car, remember, it could be more than just a ride.
Stay curious, stay informed, and we'll catch you next time.